Is record. Okay. All right. I believe we are now recording. Um, as I said, my name is Rebecca Hedreen. I'm one of the librarians at Bewley Library. Um, and I'm going to start this talk about AI tools for article searching and review with a brief um, talk about how AI searching works because it does work differently. Um, but also, I've found that a lot of people actually don't know how most searching works. Um, and so this is regular searching. So this is basic searching with Google or searching the library. Um, there are processes that create indexes. So for the most part, you are not actually searching the full text of articles, the full text of websites. You're searching extractions of that. So in the library, those are often title, author, keywords, subject headings, things like that. And if you're searching the internet, for the search engines, those are usually um, uh, things like common keywords, um, uh, that are used on the page, but not necessarily all the words on the page. Um, and so that means that you're always searching kind of a one step back. Now, AI assisted searching is often done on the full text of the material, um, but sometimes it depends on like what is available. So depending on exactly what you're searching and what tool you're using, um, the AI may only have access to, say, the title and abstract of an article. And so you're still not searching the full text. So this is something to keep in mind, why you may sometimes not get great results in either regular searching or AI searching. So the basics, rather than trying a keyword match. So I've put in these keywords and it's trying to find them in that index. Is it a word in a title? Is it an author name? Is it a subject heading? Is it a word in the abstract? The large AI-assisted searching uses a large language model to parse your question out into concepts. Those concepts are associated with words and phrases. Um, but your question, this is why you can ask a question for an AI-assisted search rather than putting in, say, a string of keywords. Now, then there's a search is done using the parsed question. So any keywords it's identified, any concepts it's identified, other things that you may put in about your request, depending on the AI tool. You may be able to say, I want articles that are less than 10 years old or something like that. Now, this part is very proprietary. um, and this is a famous old science cartoon, but it is still applicable. um, step two. Um, and then there's it presents the results to you. Now, depending on the type of tool you're using, it may summarize or organize or extract pieces from the results, or it may simply just give you a list. So this is good and bad. So parsing the question, this is, I think, the thing that's really intriguing and powerful about the AI search tools is you can ask the question, and rather than trying to match keywords, um, and possibly like, not interpret the keywords in the right context, the AIs can actually interpret context. Um, Now, on the other hand, you can have times when it is not interpreting your question correctly, and you will get completely irrelevant results. Um, this is what prompt engineering is all about. It's about making your question in a way that the large language model can better understand it. Um, so if this happens to you, try rephrasing the question. Um, Now, the search results do depend on what it's searching. Um, one of the tools that I'm going to show you today is called ASTA, and it searches the collection of Semantic Scholar, which is it's similar to Google Scholar, but a it's a smaller collection. It's a little bit more managed, though, so the material in it is a little bit more reliable. Um, so depending on which tool you're using, it may be searching different things, and you may get different results. Now, it's also parsing the answer. So again, it may be able to just bring that relevant information up to the top. On the other hand, it is also possible that for the large language model to misinterpret things, cherry picking, or even hallucinating material that's not actually in your results. This is where things tend to go really wrong, and why you need to be very careful about using these tools. I'm going to show you not all of these. I'm going to show you a bunch of examples, but these slides will be available, and you'll have all of these links. So some best practices. While they are definitely getting better, the current tools are probably still best for exploration. You should not rely on these to do a fully comprehensive search. But if what you're looking for is an introduction to the subject, to see just on a general way of what's out there, a lot of these tools are really good. Um, um, and something that I use these tools for a lot is what they call finding seed papers. So these are relevant papers that are kind of surfaced up from the mass of everything that's out there by the large language models. And I can then use those those articles to create better searches, because those will give me an idea of vocabulary. It'll give me an idea maybe of authors who are active in this field. Um, and if I look those articles up in library databases, I can get things like subject headings, figure out which database may be the best to do my further searches in, because those are the ones that have the articles that I've already discovered. You do need to remember that AI tools don't understand your questions. They are still matching patterns. They're no longer matching keywords, but they are matching patterns. The best tools out there still have issues, mostly with misinterpretation. Um, some of the things that have been discovered by people who are doing research on here, most AI tools, even the best ones, overgeneralize. So they'll have a study with say a small, very specific population, but they will give you a summary that sounds more like this is a large study that can be generalized to the whole population. Um, you know, there are also they also tend to reflect the biases in the literature. Um, for instance, in the health fields, um, you know, traditionally health studies are always started with men, and women are added on kind of as an afterthought, especially pregnant women. Um, uh, and even worse, it's white men who tend to be kind of the default. And so these summaries are more likely to put forward the parts of the study that are applicable to men, to white men, to upper middle class white men, um, the people who write this programming. um, that can be an issue. I was looking at some summaries for some drug trials, and one of them, the the drug worked exactly as expected in the older male population, but for especially the younger women, there were major side effects. The summary barely mentioned the fact that there were side effects in women, and did not mention the age group at all, and basically overgeneralize this to be a very successful drug trial, making you, if you had just read the summary, the AI summary, you would think that this was a fantastic drug and everybody should be taking it. Um, so you should always double check the conclusions and the summaries, um, and certainly, don't act on them without double checking what the study actually said. It's honestly, it's a little bit like, you know, um, doing basing, your knowledge on the way science is reported in a newspaper. Yeah. Um, you're going to lose a lot of the nuance. Um, And then I have to mention that there are a lot of ethical considerations in AI tools. Um, there are copyright issues, environmental issues, labor issues, and this is true pretty much across the board. There are some companies that are better than others, but all of these models, because they are all based on the same technology, do have similar ethical issues, just maybe to a greater or lesser extent. Um, so you need to make a decision about whether or not to use these tools based on your own acceptance of those ethical issues. Okay. Let me get out of this. And okay. Now I will reshare. There we go. Okay. So the first one that I wanted to show you was actually not a search tool per se, but using the AI chatbots, the large language model chatbots. I'm using Copilot because that's the one that, as a Microsoft campus, we have access to most easily. But what I'm going to show you works in all of them. I've tried it in Claude, I've tried it in ChatGPT, I've tried it in Gemini. All of this sort of stuff works. So you can tell it that you're doing a library search. So rather than asking it to do, to basically write a lit review for you, you can ask it to help you do further searching. This avoids the problem that a lot of these tools have, that if they can't find things that match exactly what you're looking for, that they will make them up. And this is part of the problem, that these are tools that were developed for human-like conversation. They were not actually developed as search tools. The search is added on afterwards. And they want to make you happy. Because they want to keep you engaged. A sign of success for them is that you keep using them. And so they're going to give you what you ask for. And if you ask for something that doesn't exist or they can't find, they will try and make something up to be something more like what you want. Yes, Valerie, go ahead.
Yeah, so being that that could happen,
Hmm.
how do you fact check it? Like, you would use AI for, research, and then you would just go and fact check everything you get the traditional way.
Yes.
Like sometimes, if you use AI and say, help me find articles on women and depression, and you get these articles, and sometimes it'll give you like a little, I don't know if it's a link, but I think it
Hmm.
is like a little link or some kind of icon that will
Yep.
tell you where you got it from. Now, if you check that source,
Yeah.
is that a sign that, okay, that's a good source, or do you have to just go to somewhere that's totally different than what they provided
Yeah,
or what the AI provided?
let me show you this other chat that I was going um, to show you in a little bit, but we'll start with this one. Um, so, you know, I was introduced to this concept, and I wanted to find out more about it. Now, I will say I started with a traditional library search, but what I was getting was not like the basics. I was getting a lot of very detailed studies and things like that. And it's like, no, I just need the basics. I want to know what this thing is before I can start thinking about it. Um,
Hmm.
so I asked, just what is it? Um, and this is Copilot. Copilot does have built-in search. Um, and so you'll see things like it has a little,
Hmm.
it has these small links
Hmm.
um, that are going to specific um, articles, and this one is from a repository, so it might be an article, it might be a thesis. Um, this one is from JSTOR. Um, This one is from Eric at the Department of Education. So, I can look through and see what types of things did they give me, and have some better confidence that because I'm recognizing these as academic type sources,
Hmm.
um, that this way I have some confidence that it may be at least sourcing the material correctly. Um,
Okay.
but I would still want to actually go into those to do further reading to make sure that it's interpreting these sources correctly.
Okay.
Um, Now, another thing that you can do, and this is very useful, is ask it follow-up questions. So in this case, it's telling me all these wonderful things about this concept of reading identity. But what are the critiques of this theory? Um, so you can ask for critiques. You can ask for what types of evidence backing up. You can ask what types of studies have been done on this. And so it's going through and it's, giving me a number of different critiques. And again, because this is a Copilot and Copilot has the search built into it, it's actually giving me links directly to these more academic sources. If you're doing this in, say, a ChatGPT, you may have to specifically ask it
Okay.
for sources.
Okay.
Um, um, and then once you have, um, some basics, or if you are already familiar with that and you don't need the little tutorial, um, you can ask for search suggestions. Um, I have found that specifically telling it that you're doing a library search is very useful, because then it's looking at the idea of how library search works. And it also often will even suggest pretty good databases. Um, so, you know, is the main concept with a bunch of alternative terminology. Um, depending on how much I know about this, I may be able to say, oh, okay, this one's good, that one's not. If I don't know a whole lot about this topic, I'm probably going to be, trying out a lot of these phrases to see if they're good or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it actually, so it's like, how do I connect these two concepts? So it gives me some suggestions that way. Then it starts breaking it down into, more sophisticated options here, um, and gives me more suggestions. Um, and then it will often this is one of the things I like about doing this in Copilot, is it actually gives me these search strings that I can literally copy and paste
Mm-hmm.
right into library databases. Um, so depending on what. And then, you know, it usually offers these other options, depending on how I want to follow up on it. Um, So I think it's very helpful with these, rather than just asking it to give you information, you know, give it give it context. Are you looking for, scholarly research? Are you looking for, are you looking for search terms? Do you need help just understanding the concepts? Do you want to know, are there controversies about this? What types of research have been done? Give it context, ask it more questions. Um, one of the researchers who does a lot of this sort of work, his name is Mike Caulfield, and he does a lot of work with the kind of intersection of what we call information literacy and the AIs. Um, and one of the things that he suggests is to so you've asked it a question and it's given you like a summary answer. Ask it, what is the evidence for and against this concept or this conclusion, this claim? Um, and what he has found is that no matter which chat you are using, if you ask it for basically to give you more than one side of the argument, it gives you much, much more nuance. And it will occasionally even reverse its original conclusion. Um, so it will give you in the first answer, it will tell you one thing is definitely the answer. But then when you ask it these follow-up questions, it will actually break it down and, either admit that it's more complicated than it originally said, or even, as I said, switch sides. Um, it will determine that, oh, that's not actually the best evidenced side, what I told you earlier. This is the side that has more evidence. Um, uh, so I think these tools are still useful, but you have to use them in a way that helps you evaluate the topic and gets you nuance when nuance exists for the question. Okay. Um, now, ASTA is, so I'm going to start with this one. So ASTA is a literature search tool. And this is the one that I recommend if you
Mhm.
want to use an AI-assisted scholarly search tool. Rather than asking ChatGPT or Copilot for the articles, use those to explore your question a little bit,
Mhm.
and then pop that into something like ASTA. So this is the question that I asked. And ASTA has two different modes. There's a find papers mode, and that will um, uh, it parses out the question. One of the things I like about ASTA is that it actually tells you what it's doing. Um, so it's found some concepts, um, and then it does the search. And for each of these, it ranks the result.
Mhm.
Um, so I have, and there's a little pop out here. I have 15 of the 64 papers, 15 it's judged as perfectly relevant, 23 as relevant, and 26 as somewhat relevant. Um, so our perfectly relevant, it has my three concepts, and I can get it to pull out useful quotations so I can actually read from the paper to see, like, does it look like they've interpreted this right? And I can do that right within ASTA. I don't have to click through to do that. It will also give me the actual abstract, um, and pull out even more passages from the paper. So these are actually taken directly from the paper. So ASTA uses Semantic Scholar. Semantic Scholar has about 8 million full text articles and I think like 110 million abstracts available. Uh, so if I happen to pick one of these that only has the abstract available, it wouldn't give me as much text here in um, the relevant passages. But it's actually pulled out quite a bit from here. Um, I can
Yeah.
also from here um, uh, see the year ranges. And if I wanted to say only see the most recent articles, I can check the boxes. The one problem is that you can't actually sort this, so you have to go through. Um, and so there are some 16 of my papers are from the last 5 years. Um, you can share these. You can also um, um, copy the oh dear, my Zoom crashed.
Oh
But
no.
luckily I didn't lose all of you.
Oh, okay, good.
Um, okay, let me try sharing again. Hopefully Zoom will not crash on us again.
Mhm.
Okay, here we are, back to Asta, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I probably have to, where's my record?
I think it said it was still recording.
Oh, it is still recording. Okay, good,
Hmm.
good.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
all right. So here is Asta again. As I scroll down, you'll see that it starts highlighting um, some of these concepts in different colors. Um, so the in this case, it's judged this one to be relevant, but it does not have anything for the instruments for measuring library anxiety. So it even gives me some idea about which concepts are present and not. And I can even go into these, and again, I can see how many relevant versus less relevant. And in my criteria, I can see that it's the research methodologies is the one that's um, the least common. And even if I clear my filters, my year filters, I can still see that it's the research methodologies concept that's the hardest one to find. And I have found this one really useful when working with students on their questions because it gives us a really clear idea of what concept from their research is the one that's going to limit what they're finding. And often that means it's the one that's the most interesting if they want to do original research. So this is the one I pay attention to a lot with graduate students. Um,
I
so
just,
yes.
Rebecca, I just had a question about the range, when the years,
Mhm.
and do you just click, can you click more than two, or to
Yes.
get a range, you click like, 2021 to 2025 and it'll give you a range, or would it just give you 2021 and 2025?
So it does them by year. So
Okay.
if we clicked 2021 and 2014 because those are the two highest ones, it's
Hmm.
just going to show me those 2 years.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. But
Yeah.
if I want to range in between, say like 2019
Yeah.
and 2020, I just have to click all of them.
Yep. Yep. You have to
Okay.
scroll through the whole list and
Hmm.
pick the years that you are interested in.
Okay. And
Um,
is this an app? Do I go like to the app store and get this?
so this is a website.
Oh, it's a website.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just asta.allen.ai. Um, and when I send out the recording info and everything, I'll make sure that all of the all everything that I'm going to be showing you today will be linked in the description of the recording.
Okay.
Also, Asta is the one kind of independent AI tool that the library has actually linked to in our database list. So
Okay.
you can get to this one through the library as well.
Mhm. Okay.
I did want to point out that there's also a list of the venues. So this would mostly be journals, but I see a conference proceeding right off, and authors. So you can also see who is publishing on this very easily. Um, Now, ASTA has a second option. Um, And that is the report. There's my report using the same concept. So this does kind of like a mini literature review. Um, but it does the exact same steps. So it's pulling out concepts, it's searching, but then this is a really interesting thing. Then it actually structures the results. You never get as many results, however. Um, so you can see there are 22 papers. So the paper search part of it, the plain search, found, I think it was 64 articles total. This one, it's only pulling 22. So that's something to keep in mind if you use this. Um, but what I've found that's really useful is it breaks them up into concepts. So this is really useful for exploring a topic because you can see you're kind of doing a mini like scoping or mapping review on here. It's giving you, what are the clusters of topics that have already been studied. So because I asked a methodology question here, it's giving me, so it's got a little background, but what kinds of quantitative instruments and scales have been used, what types of methodologies and approaches, and what types of data analysis techniques can it identify from the articles that it's pulling up. These are mostly done from the 8 million full text articles that it has available to it, and it doesn't emphasize the abstract only materials that it has. So that's one of the reasons it has a smaller number. So again, this is definitely not comprehensive. There are far more than 22 articles on library anxiety out there. Um, uh, and most of them do have some kind of methodology in there. So um, uh, it does have, it can produce a comparison table. So what was the objective, what was the methodology, and what were the data collection methods? What it includes in the table depends on the type of search that you do. So, but it often has something. It often has things similar to this. But for instance, if you do a search for in say biology, it may have species. If you do a health related one, it might have conditions. So it's gonna vary a little bit depending on what your question is. Um, I can get my entire citation list here. And I can export all of these. In the other one, there is a way of exporting all of them, but it's easier to export them one at a time. But in this one, you can export all the citations at once. And this is handy if you're using a citation manager like Zotero or EndNote. You can export them and import those in here. Oh, I should also point out that if you click on these, you will go right into the Semantic Scholar database and see their record for that particular paper, which if there is a free full text available, it will give you the link to that. In Semantic Scholar, they also show you who cited this. This is an older article. This is from 1986. So it has been cited a lot, at least a lot for a library paper. You can also see if it has full text available, it will often give you the reference list. And then they have a little related papers option. And you can do basically the same thing by clicking into that, seeing this, and then get citations, references, and related papers. So this is a nice way of, you can use ASTA to start and then transfer over to Semantic Scholar to start following these citation traces and using their related papers option to find more articles that are similar. The related papers this is called Semantic Scholar. Related papers are produced by a semantic analysis. So this is, again, not keyword matching, but it is not full large language model processing the way ASTA does it. So this is one of the ones that I find the most useful for doing the searches. I wanted to point out, so Google has what they call Notebook LM. And here are the featured notebooks that they have put together. This is something where you can so you can create these yourself. These are ones that are done by either Google or partner organizations. Um, and you can upload documents, including articles. Um, it will take PDFs and Word documents and PowerPoints. Um, I think it can even do images and it might be able to do video. I don't remember. Yes, it can actually it can. At least YouTube videos. Um, and um, once you have a whole bunch of material in there, you can start asking it questions of the entire body of material that you've put together. You can have it make content. Um, which, I mean, it's AI generated imagery, so sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. Um, it does try to source the information that it's putting in from the documents. So I used to be fairly confident that it was 100%. I've seen some new research that it's maybe not entirely, that it does occasionally bring things in from its large language model. But you notice that it says based on 14 sources, depending on what type of material you have, um, it may even give you more specific info. Briefing doc would be a better one to go in. So it's pulling a lot of this info, and all of this stuff should be coming right out of these materials. Depending on the type of report that you get, it may or may not actually link to the sources. Looks like this one actually is not linking to the sources very much. Let me see if I can find one that I'm pretty sure does. I think the Jane Austen one may have. No, that's. Oh, yes, it
When we
also
talk
does
about Jane
audio.
Austen, the mental picture is usually one of restraint, quiet dignity, maybe a minor scandal over a slight breach of etiquette.
Right.
Yeah, so these are kind of fun. But you can use these for some interesting things. I put my thesis in and got an interesting little kind of podcast style audio track about my thesis work, which was very interesting. It apparently cannot pronounce certain words at all. um, but one of the things I found very interesting was it actually emphasized different aspects of my work than I had done in my own presentations about it. And so I thought that was very interesting that it actually picked up on slightly different things than I had done as the researcher. Um, so, you know, you can, ask it questions. So you could, put your own material in here and then ask it questions as if you were somebody asking questions at your defense. And get a little practice idea of like, okay, what, how might I tackle a question like this? So that's something that can be interesting to do. Um, yeah, so putting Denise mentioned using a podcast to help with concepts. That's definitely something. I also know a few professors who have uploaded like all of their PowerPoints and notes into this and then made it available to their students as a study aid. Because it is pulling the vast majority of its info right from the documents that you load. You can actually use it as a study guide. Okay. Um, um, so, yeah, so I did want to point out a couple of research things that have come up. So this is one misrepresenting news content. Same sort of studies have been done on scholarly materials. Um, oh, actually, I take that back. There was one other one that I hadn't put in yet. Um, um, I've got the right one. Oh, nope, that's not the right one. Never mind. Google Scholar Labs. Um, so this is quite new, um, and it's very interesting. This is actually an overlay. It's a large language model overlay on Google Scholar. So if you are already familiar with searching Google Scholar, you're going to get the same type of results. Um, but you can, um, it will do the concept relations. It does a much more selective result. Um, and it gives you a little bit more of an extract. So if we, um, so if I just do Google Scholar itself, you can see the difference here between. So I'm getting tons more results because it's just pulling keywords out of my question and trying to match those. It is not looking at context at all. There are a lot of interesting things about the way they've designed this. For instance, while Google Scholar very prominently has the number of citations for all the articles, um, while they show this, they say in their documentation that they are not actually taking citations into account in the ordering of the results or even in the delivery of the results. Um, and so this is what they say they're trying to do is to more accurately match your question to the results. And they aren't using the number of citations that the articles are getting as a determination about whether the article is good or bad, how high up it should be in the search results, or anything to do with relevancy. There's a lot of interesting possibilities of how this is going to work or not, but we'll see what happens, I think. This is all very experimental. As you can see, it's in their labs. Um, so, this is quite new. They came out with this the end of 2025 is when they announced this. Okay, so we have gotten to almost 6 o'clock. Does anybody have questions for me? And I can turn the recording off at this point.